Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm John Gray, and we're just plain living here.
And glad to be so.
And glad to be living.
Peggy Burton, good morning.
How you doing, Pegs?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Wasn't the snow pretty?
It was, and I felt sure it was going to freeze last night, and I was going to have to crawl to my car. But
Not
no,
really.
it's really kind of nice.
It was a little bit slick real early this morning, but not. And last night when I left here after I was watching the Alabama and Ohio State, the national championship game, and I was watching it here last night, and when I left here about 11:30, there was some ice on my windshield, and I thought, it's not going to be good, but the roads were okay.
Yeah, the roads are fine.
Not a problem.
But
the snow was pretty.
Yeah, but schools are still closed in Bedford County and other places.
Yeah.
So some people got a lot of snow.
Got snow, and it was pretty. The flakes were like that big around almost.
They were beautiful.
And a lot of people had video on the Facebook and all that of the snow falling and
snow falling on Facebook is a pleasant change.
Yeah, that's about the most pleasant thing that's happening on Facebook.
Don't give me no bad news anymore.
No bad news. We don't need no bad news. Hey, I want to share something with you that I think is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I wish it were mine, but it's not. I was watching an old movie, and there was an older man talking to a younger man, and the older man, he might have some problems, a little bit mentally slow. He's grinding down to the end, and the younger man takes him places, and they're friends. They've been friends for a long time, and so every time the older man can't drive, so every time the younger guy takes him somewhere, he leaves him with a pearl of wisdom, and so he gets out, and as he's walking around the car, he walks back over to the window and says, "Hey, I want you to remember this. Always be kind to the people who have access to your toothbrush." Because they ain't no telling if they're mad at you what they can do with it, where it might go.
There you go. That's a good
Always
point.
be kind to the people who have access to your
toothbrush. Oh my!
Isn't that great?
That is great.
Simple
wisdom.
I'm reading a little book about, and the title of it is "Write One Song." And my sweet sister-in-law Candy gave it to me for Christmas. And it is by a songwriter who has been successful in doing that. And this book is to tell everyone out there that everyone has a song in them.
That's it, probably, yeah.
And he goes through the creative process
of writing
of writing not songs, just one song, because he wants everybody to feel the joy
of having one song.
Of presenting one song to somebody else, even if it's just one other person, to where you can create something. And he shows you how simple it is. But one of the things he does is he said, read. There's all kinds of great lines in books.
Oh, yeah.
You're not stealing, because life isn't copyrighted. To copyright something, you have to have a specific thing that you either trade name or copyright. A title to a song is not protected. The song itself is protected.
The song is protected, but
how many times have people written the same old song?
Or the same, at least.
No, the title, the same old song.
Oh, the same old song.
I've written it once. The Four Tops did it and made a big deal. It's the same old song, but it's been written. That title's been used probably 100 times, because you can't copyright a title.
You can't copyright a title.
You got to copyright the work.
Yeah.
The work is copyrighted, and if you use too many words that are out of the work, or if you use too much of the melody out of the work, then the people have to be compensated for it.
Well, and I'm sure, because I've found these songs, there's many songs with the same chord progressions.
Sure.
are used
Well, the blues
over
and
and
the
over.
blues.
Yeah, and you can sing one song and another song at the same time, 3 or 4
Right
people
there.
with that same set of chords. Yeah.
But what he says is watch movies and read and find words. And he said one of the things that is enlightening is to, he said, pick, and in the book he says, list 10 things a doctor does.
Okay.
Sees you, heals you, he heals you. And then look around the room and list 10 nouns. A chair, a camera, a light. And then you cut these up, 10 of each, and you mix up the 10 verbs and the 10 nouns, and you pull 2 of them and put them together. And see what comes of it. And he said, it's amazing
what you can come up with.
What you come up with and how you will. He said, our problem is we fit words together the way we've taught to fit words together to communicate. And there's so many different ways we can communicate.
You need to do a songwriting workshop right now because
There's
it's
so
all
many,
fresh in your head.
there's so many different ways we can communicate other than the adverbs. Throw the adverbs and adjectives away right now. Just work with verbs and nouns and put them together and go, oh my goodness.
So you want to give me an example?
The light is so bright it's noisy.
Okay.
You know, hadn't you seen something that changed? I wrote a song called I Can Hear Your Smile.
Yeah, I can
because you can
that.
see somebody smile and you can almost hear what they're thinking when they're smiling. They can't talk to you,
but you can.
But you can hear it. Mm-hmm. And so words can be put together in a way that they are defined in different lights.
That's
so
it
was just it's a neat little book.
That was a nice book.
So everybody write a song.
Yeah. So let's start one
yeah.
today. Okay, I'll go home and write a song.
COVID, go away, never come back another day. We're tired of you 'cause you're a mess. Oh, COVID.
You digress or something like that.
You digress. I hope you digress. I hope we progress.
I am so tired of that.
Yeah.
Well, everybody is, and I'm sad about it. It's
killer.
It's a killer. And I was speaking with my friend that's in an assisted living place in Georgia, and she was just talking about what her life is like now. She has a nice apartment, but that's it.
Can't get out of it.
She can't move from it. She can't go out of it. They bring her food to the door. They just knock on the door. She gets the food, brings it in, and all by herself. And we're all kind of all by ourselves in a lot of ways, but it's tough times for people.
Right.
And I'm not real.
And you never know where it's going to come from.
Nope, you don't. You have no idea.
You never know where it's going to come from, who walks in the door with it, or what they bring.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Oh, I sent so-and-so over at the nursing home a jar. I sent my mother-in-law a jar of soup. Well, I guarantee you, when they brought that soup into that building, they probably didn't clean it.
Well, they should have.
I mean, I don't have it, and I cleaned it before I took it over there, washed the jar. But think about how many people go, oh, well, I'm going to take Mama a ice cream.
And you
have in a paper cup with a plastic top on it, and they walk over and they hand it to somebody. You don't know who that person is. You don't know whether they have it or not. There's a lot of people that are out there carrying it that don't test positive.
That's true.
And the person that made it, you don't know if they've got it or not. So wherever they are, that should be sterilized, but they can't sterilize everything that happens in life.
I just think that one has to go ahead about their business, be cautious, keep clean, wear your mask.
Be clean. Did you have a bath today?
Absolutely.
You did, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
What time were you on the treadmill this morning?
I didn't do the treadmill. I had to take my car to Stan McNabb's to get
That's a treadmill.
tires put on it.
That's a treadmill right there.
I was up way early this morning.
You were pushing your car.
Yeah.
Instead of running on the treadmill.
No, I spend a lot of time on the treadmill because that's what I have in the house to work on with.
Yeah. You like it though, or you wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't mind doing it.
Have you ever had other machines in there, like that stair climber or any of that stuff?
I just don't have room for many.
So the treadmill's your punishment of choice.
But, there's a lot of exercise you can do without being on the treadmill.
I like a treadmill. Yeah. I've always enjoyed doing a treadmill.
No, my daughter-in-law is always trying to send me different machines because she is,
She's Superwoman.
She's Superwoman, right. But I don't have any more room in my house for machines.
There you go. Okay, all right.
And I think I'm doing good probably at my age to get on the treadmill for a couple of miles a day. So
yeah, get outside and walk.
I do that as much as I can.
Watch the deer. Hey, we've really been enjoying birds.
Do you have
feeders? Yeah, we
stuff?
put feeders out, and excuse me for this expletive, but damn squirrels, they're hogs.
You cannot.
They are hogs. They get in the.
They find a way to get into every bird feeder.
And they just lay down in it and shovel seed in their mouths, and their tails are going like this.
I remember my dad getting this real fancy bird feeder because he loved watching birds, and it was supposed to keep the squirrels out. And I looked out the window one day, and there was a squirrel just hanging by his little paws, getting all the food.
My dad would take. He hung a bird feeder because they climb up the pole.
Oh yeah,
or they drop out of the tree onto a limb. So he tied a piece of wire in between two trees that were far enough apart where the limbs weren't over the bird feeder, where they could drop off of a limb onto it. I looked out there one day and they were going up down that wire, one hand over the other to get in the food.
You can't stop them. They're cute little characters.
So what Daddy did was he took a wire and he hung it from a tree limb, and he hung it just about that high off the ground, and he ran it through an ear of corn and hooked it up at the bottom where the bottom of that ear of corn was right there.
Yeah.
And those squirrels would dance. They'd get underneath it, and they'd get so mad because they could jump as high as they could, and they just barely touch it, Oh, they cussed him. If squirrel language could be read, my dad got a squirrel cussing every day.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's the thing to do to feed the wild animals. It's really not. It's really not, because they forget how to forage for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And then the first thing you know, you got 15 raccoons sitting in your window waiting for the food.
Well, but the birds, when it snows, the birds need some food.
Oh, sure.
But guess what? They made it without bird feeders.
Yeah.
They've ever since God created them, they've been all right. So
it's just getting tough for them because of the way people abuse the land. And
and we're building subdivisions.
Yeah. And
they don't have anywhere to hide.
Bart swears he saw bear tracks in my woods.
I don't doubt it. There was a bear walk. The bear at the Science Center was the one that walked. Dot Couch walked out on her back patio one day, and the bear was walking across her backyard.
Oh my goodness! Did they?
And they called the police. That's when they found it, and they shot it, killed it.
Oh.
In that area out there, and you can go to the Science Center right now, and it's standing up when you walk in, and you turn to the right. That's the Tullahoma bear.
Kind of sad, really, because he got, his habitat got messed up. And he had to move
and up on Carter Mountain, there are a lot of bears up there. Of course, coyotes. We have coyotes everywhere. They're just everywhere. They're like squirrels.
They are everywhere. I used to think that my neighbors had hunting dogs. They're these coyotes, and they scream into the night in groups. You know what I mean? Right. You can hear them all night long sometimes. I haven't heard them as much lately, and maybe it's because there's more houses.
More houses, maybe so. Hey, I'll tell you what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with the rest of the show. Don't go away. It'll be fun.
Ah, the glory days. Running to daylight on the gridiron and chasing a ball with a mind of its own. Cheering the team to victory and marching to the beat of your own drum. Memories that last a lifetime. But sometimes we're reminded of our glory days in ways we'd rather forget. Get back in the game.
The rehab team at Life Care Center of Tullahoma is ready to help you live and play well. Is this the year you want to get fit? If so, check out just some of the things Tullahoma Parks and Rec has to offer. Kickboxing, aerobics, silver sneakers workouts, swim lessons, boot camp, water aerobics, basketball, Zumba, yoga, pickleball, lap swimming, treadmill, karate. Get fit, Tullahoma, and have some fun with Tullahoma Parks and Rec.
The individuals with dementia, those with Parkinson's, those that have maybe mobility issues, need caregivers. Well, those caregivers are 24 hours a day at home, and they never get a rest. And if they have to go to work, they're kind of out of luck. So that's why Trinity came into existence 25 years ago, to allow the caregivers to have a safe center where they could put their loved ones, know they would be well cared for, stimulated, fed good nutritious meals, have activities to their level, and then the caregiver can stop by and pick them up and go on home and have some continuity into their life.
It's not invoice. It's not MSRP. It's not Christmas Day, although it may feel like it. It's the lowest prices in Middle Tennessee, period. It's a Stan McNabb Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or Stan McNabb Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac before these prices are gone forever.
How long has it been since you raced a cheetah? Are your tornado creating skills getting rusty? Tired of being the only one in your neighborhood who hasn't built a dinosaur? Sounds like it's time to visit the Hands-On Science Center. The Hands-On Science Center is an indoor science playground. In this museum, please touch is the rule. Join us for weekly science demonstrations on space, lasers, lizards, rocks, and a whole lot more. No two visits are ever the same, so visit often to see our ever-changing exhibits and demonstrations. The Hands-On Science Center, 101 Mitchell Boulevard in Tullahoma.
Welcome back. I have some wonderful people here with me today from the Good Samaritan Ministry. Cindy Kenny, the Executive Director, and Donna, I didn't take your last name.
Baker.
And obviously, are you both volunteers?
No, we're paid.
You're paid, and there's very few paid people in this program, and what a wonderful program it is. Let's give the people an idea of what it is you do.
Well, Don and I have been together for about 4 years. And our ministry was chartered in 1985. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization.
And for people that don't know what that means, if you give a donation to this organization, it counts off on your income tax, and that's helpful.
Yes. And our charter is that we serve the people who live in Tullahoma only. Okay?
Only Tullahoma.
And those are people in need, the less fortunate, and people who, well, like with COVID now, we have a lot of people in a crisis situation. And our ministry provides food, financial assistance. We have some criteria and guidelines. But
and what are some of the criteria and
guidelines?
Well,
of course, you must be a Tullahoma resident.
Right.
Low income. Low or no income. We do have you bring a photo ID, Social Security card, proof of income in your bill, and then we do, to get financial assistance, you must, call us and make an appointment. Okay, so we need copies of those documents.
So if they call you and make an appointment, do we have a number we could put on the screen?
Yes, I
don't know what
it
was 931.
Okay, they'll probably put up in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
And I suppose you could look it up by going to.
You can just Google.
You have a Facebook page.
Facebook, and we have a website.
Good Samaritan Ministry.
Yeah.
So you can find out what you need to know there, because you can always ask a question. And it worries me that there may be people that don't know where your place is. So what's that address?
Well, it's 210 East Grundy Street.
East Grundy Street.
And for those who have been in Tullahoma a long time, we reside in the original Tullahoma Funeral Home.
Okay.
And we're right across the alley from the First Presbyterian Church.
So it's not far from once you cross the railroad track. It's real close. And what are the hours?
The ministry is available 9 to noon, Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
The thrift
9 till
store,
noon.
the thrift store is open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 o'clock till 2 o'clock.
Okay. And if you have a need for things like clothing, food, money, all these things, so the certain things they have to make an appointment. But if they want to
Right.
come and look at clothes,
Oh, yeah,
are
that's-
those all given away, or do they have to pay a small amount?
Thrift store, well, the thrift store is available for people to shop, okay, to purchase clothes. And they are greatly reduced. In
Yes.
fact, most of our clothing sells for $1 or less, and I'm talking, we have pretty strict criteria as far as what we hang out.
I think it's good that it has a small price on it,
Yeah.
simply because people have pride and they don't want to feel like that everything's being given, that they're paying for what they get. I like that.
But there are some families that have had some distress where they can come to us, we'll give them a voucher, and they can, our standard is usually 3 outfits, per
Okay.
person. And that's like shirts, pants, socks, underwear, coat.
Coats.
We do now, because of the cold weather, have a lot of coats that we will give to people.
So if people need coats,
Come
now's
see
the
us.
time, and there's the phone number, just
Right.
like we expected.
Yeah. And we have some special programs, Project Dignity, which is our program where we can give people personal hygiene items and
Oh, that's
household
wonderful.
cleaning products. And a lot of that is donated to us. We have Project Baby Boom, which is
Great.
we can give those in need diapers, wipes,
Formula,
formula.
food.
Do you find that right now, during the crisis with the pandemic and everything, do you find that you're having more people come in? Or is it about the same?
It's about the same. Now, during the initial outbreak, we had to have a lot of people stay home, and there was just 3 of us handling the ministry.
That was
but we
hard.
felt that food was a priority.
Yes.
So we were there we kind of backed off on financial assistance, but we were there giving food 3 days a week, and we let people come back every 2 weeks
to get more
food.
Let's let everybody know the kind of food that they're allowed to bring. Is there a certain kind, like canned foods?
Yeah, we prefer usually non-perishable food.
Right.
And then during the summer, like we were chatting before, we have some gardens that are well stocked and overflowing, and
That's
don't we, Donna?
wonderful.
We get
We
a
do,
lot of fresh.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I came from a farm, so I'm so glad to know that we still have people that will do
Oh, yeah.
that. And my
Yeah.
father, he always had food for everybody in the country, it
Yeah.
seemed. But that is a gracious gift, and we need to
Right.
compliment our farmers.
We appreciate, because we feel like it kind of rounds out the food that we're giving them, and we have a good relationship with Kroger and Publix. We get baked goods. In Publix, the Good Samaritan is the preferred nonprofit
Yeah.
with them. So we have a special relationship, and they do food drives a couple of times a year. Donna and I, you'll always see us at the back of the store.
Yes, every weekend.
Every weekend we pick up bakery items. They give us meat. They give us milk.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
And
Eggs.
people don't
Eggs.
realize sometimes what those big grocery stores do for the community.
Yeah, they've since they've come into town along with Kroger, they've really helped us out.
Donna, how long did you say you've been involved in this program?
I've been 4 years also. I am the assistant director up there with Cindy.
Okay.
So I am the one that you would talk to if you need financial assistance.
Oh, okay.
You call, make an appointment. I let you in my office. We do talk one-on-one. And
Great.
they just need to bring all their paperwork in that Cindy spoke about.
Now, is the office there where the thrift store is?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's all in the same area?
Same building.
And how do you drop stuff off if the place is not open? Do you have to wait till it's open?
No.
We have a donation barn.
Okay.
That's what we
A
call it.
donation
Yeah,
barn. So things can be left there.
Right.
And you like for things to be clean.
Absolutely.
It would be nice, but yeah, because
sometimes, yeah, we get it clean. Sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
But
Okay. but you try to, if people would just make sure they were clean, and
Yeah.
it would be helpful to you.
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
if, I know there must be other things that we need to talk about, and the time will be gone before we know it. So, whatever you would like to
Well,
lead to the
the
community.
one just thing I want to put a bug in everybody's ear is it is cold season now.
Yes.
So they can either go to the local gas company, okay, Elk River or Tullahoma Utility Authority, and sign up to be a part of Project Help, which is special funds that help the elderly and those in need, or low income with their utility bills.
Oh,
throughout
that's
the winter.
wonderful. That's wonderful. We have a real giving community,
We
I
do.
think, and we need to always be grateful for the donations and different things. And if somebody just wants to come by with money, they make it out to Good Samaritan
Sure.
Please.
and leave it as a donation to
Right.
be used in any way that you see fit.
We also have a set aside for the homeless people
Oh, I didn't-
too.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. We furnish them like clothes, towels, wash rags, shampoo.
Oh, that's
stuff like that.
wonderful.
We also do blankets.
Sure.
Oh, so people interested in getting rid of some
Yeah.
blankets and
Yes,
stuff, that's the
yes,
perfect place
yes,
to
ma'am.
go.
Yeah, we have church ladies that knit us caps and gloves, scarves.
Booties for the
Booties.
kids.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
What
And
could
then
be more
also-
special than
We
handmade?
also have got it set up at the swimming pool from Monday through Friday from 12 to 4. If you're homeless, you can go by and take a hot shower.
That is awesome. 12 to 4. What worries me is that maybe homeless people are not watching this TV. How do they get the word?
We've tried to pass the word around.
Word of mouth.
And whenever someone homeless does come in, Donna always will share that information with them, and we give them a towel. We've got like a little to-go bag of food and one of hygiene products that they
That's
can
wonderful. How many homeless would you say we have around this area? More than we would imagine?
take with them. Oh, yes.
That's sad to me. Well, I think we've probably done what we need to do today, and the time is running out on me, so I just want to say how grateful I am to live in a community that has the Good Samaritan ministry,
Thank
because
you.
it is
Thank you.
very, very needed.
It is.
We will be back.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. He's tough enough to feed the man that gave him a lifetime of nourishment. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. That's right. No employee of the month bonus check here. This guy, no, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. Good luck finding a gym to train for that. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Is this the year you want to get fit? If so, check out just some of the things Tullahoma Parks and Rec has to offer. Kickboxing, aerobics, silver sneakers workouts, swim lessons, boot camp, water aerobics, basketball, Zumba, yoga, pickleball, lap swimming, treadmill, karate. Get fit, Tullahoma, and have some fun with Tullahoma Parks and Rec.
When your family suffers the loss of a loved one, the caring and compassionate staff at Tullahoma Funeral Home and Coffee County Funeral Chapel are standing by to assist you in every way possible. We are proud to support local industry and offer only Batesville caskets. Many funeral homes don't own or operate a crematory. We utilize the only crematory in Coffee County. Your loved one never leaves Coffee County. We can accommodate any need and any budget. Consider our complete pre-need service to remove this burden from your family during their time of grief. Lock in today's low costs and protect from inflation. Tullahoma Funeral Home and Coffee County Funeral Chapel. Our family caring for your family.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Wonderful people out in TV land that love history and love Tullahoma. I just enjoy sharing these things with you so much. And today we're going to spend a few moments talking about one of Tullahoma's long-time landmarks that, sad to say, was raised in 1968, and that is the King Hotel. The King Hotel was at the corner of Lincoln and at North Atlantic Street in the 100 block. Originally, it was a residence built by Mr. G.W. Stegall that lived there, and this picture shows the front entrance and the side entrance. The side entrance faced Lincoln Street, and the front entrance, of course, went to Atlantic Street. A beautiful home with hardwood floors and ornate fireplaces and light fixtures, and it was just gorgeous, and they lived there for many, many years. And I don't know exactly the date, but 2 3-story wings were added to the back and to the side, the north side of this residence, and they made a beautiful brick 3-story hotel that had, I think, 90 or 100 rooms in it. And the hotel, this is not a very good picture because it was made in the late 20s, and I hope that you viewers can see it. It was surrounded by beautiful trees, and the basement was used for a private dining room and a barber shop. And we shouldn't call it a basement, though. The lower level, I think, would be probably more appropriate. And then the first floor on this end was the dining room, had full service dining room for the guests and the public. And many salesmen would come to the King Hotel and would, before the advent of a lot of private cars, would get a cab or a horse or whatever and ride to surrounding cities like Manchester and Shelbyville and Fayetteville, and they would call on the merchants and write up their orders and take them back, and they had big tables in the lobby of the hotel where they could visit and write up their orders. And then right in front of the hotel, within 100 yards, was the passenger depot, and they'd take their orders and put them on the railway postal service and the train, and either they'd send their orders to Chattanooga or Nashville, and these orders would be filled, and they'd come back the next day. But it was a gathering spot for everyone, and especially in its heyday, when Camp Forrest was here from 1940 to 1946, they had guests from all over the United States, not really all over the world, and it stayed full all the time. Good service there, and the King family lived in a residence adjacent to it on Lincoln Street. They ran the hotel, and one of our dear friends, the late George Fatty Book, was the clerk there, and everybody loved George. And George probably knew as many people as anybody that had never served in a public office anywhere. And, I think at the peak of George's life, he weighed close to 500 pounds. Loved to dance, and George was a fixture as much as the furniture was in the King Hotel. They never had an elevator, but they had beautiful, easy climb steps right in the center of the building, and it was just a great, great building. I don't recall it ever being air conditioned, but it was always cool in the summertime, and in the wintertime, they had either steam or hot water radiators, and it was a beautiful building, built solid, and it's a shame or a disappointment that the building is not still standing and in use. There is now on that lot where the King Hotel that was formerly a Phillips 66 service station, and it's vacant now. And the next door to it was the Park Hotel that burned many, many years ago, and the railroad office building was there for many years. But the King Hotel has many, many long, wonderful memories for visitors and families alike. And thank you for watching. This is not the end, because there's more to come on the Millennium Moment. Thank you.
My great-grandfather started it in 1900, and now it's 2020, which is 120 years. We still measure your feet, still try to help you find a good fit. We're just a good old-fashioned shoe store where we'll measure your feet, make sure you're in the right size, and help you find a comfortable shoe for men, women, and children.
We're gonna fit your style. We're gonna make you smile. Service and quality at Clayton Shoe Store. We're gonna fit your style.
Ah, the glory days. Running to daylight on the gridiron and chasing a ball with a mind of its own. Cheering the team to victory and marching to the beat of your own drum. Memories that last a lifetime. But sometimes we're reminded of our glory days in ways we'd rather forget. Get back in the game. The rehab team at Life Care Center of Tullahoma is ready to help you live and play well.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
Talking history about this and that. It's conversations with John and Pat, with John and Pat, with John and Pat.
Hello everyone, I'm John Rickman. And this is Pat Welch. And John, we're here for segment 44 of the conversation with John and Pat. 44.
Pat, because I was raised on a farm, this song by Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs was always one that I felt identified with. Oh, I wonder how the old folks are at home. I wonder if they miss me while I'm gone. I wonder if they pray for the boy that went away and left their dear old parents all alone. You can hear the cattle lowing in the lane. You can almost see the fields of bluegrass green. You can almost hear them cry as they kiss the boy goodbye. I wonder how the old folks are at home. Just a village and a homestead on the farm. and a mother's love to shield you from all harm. A sweetheart brave and true, the one you love so dear. Just a village and a homestead on the farm. You can hear the cattle lowing in the lane. You can almost see the fields of bluegrass green. You can almost hear him cry as he kissed the boy goodbye. I wonder how the old folks are at home. I wonder how the old folks are at home.
Oh, that was good, John. And you don't need to apologize for your rural roots now. It's made you who you are, and
it doesn't take long for a person to get around me, and they'll realize that I have some rural roots.
That's it. My father was raised on a farm, and in central Illinois, and most of that, I guess, of his memory would have been in the 30s, which would have been tough times across the country, especially on a farm. And I can remember him talking about his mother would get, when they went to school in a little town named Alsea that had about 400 people in it, she would get up early before they did, wring several chickens' necks, fry them, and put the fried chicken in their lunch boxes, where it was, when they got to eat it at lunch, it was still hot. And he said that a lot of times he would trade it with the city boys. Now, this is a town of 400 people. He traded his fried chicken with city boys for bologna sandwiches. That was a delicacy for him.
Yeah. I remember Cotton Ivy talking about the first time he ever saw a marshmallow. He said, you ought to see in the line that they started getting in line to lick that, see how many could lick that marshmallow. I mean, people didn't, my daddy said, for Christmas years ago, all he'd get was maybe an orange or something, just something different than what
just
they normally
something we take for granted now is just absolutely a luxury.
Oh, we give, our kids and grandkids get so much. Maybe our kids don't, but our grandkids. And but anyway, I want to tell about, kids back when I was growing up, and we were to be seen and not heard. And one time, my parents and I was along. I don't know if Jimmy was with me or not. I can't remember who was there, but I remember sitting over in a corner. My parents went to visit an old couple named Mr. and Ms. Key that lived on Eagleville Road out of Chapel Hill. And I call them old people. They're probably about my age right now, But anyway, I was in the corner, and I was a young kid, and whatever they were talking about, I wasn't interested in. And I had just learned how to whistle. And I was interested in becoming a better whistler, and so I got over in the corner in that room, and I started whistling. And Daddy said, because it was interrupting the conversation, my dad said, "Son, quit that." So I quit, and just a little while later, I started doing it again. And he said, "Son, I want you to stop that, and I want to see you when I get home." And so I quit whistling, and from that point on, I thought, I'm not going to do it anymore. I think my daddy might forget about this. But as you know, most parents know that you got
a hopeful might there.
You got to follow up on whatever it is you threaten someone with. Well, my dad, he said, "Son, I need to see you up in the front room." That's where he conducted his corporal punishment, up there in the front room. And so I took that little trip with him up the front room, and Daddy had been a semi-professional wrestler. And when he spanked us, he would use a flyback paddle, that you had a little ball on the end of it. And that really didn't hurt so much as it was the way he grabbed you when you got your spanking. He grabbed you around your head and then hooked his leg over around your leg, and then he had you in sort of a grip. Mm-hmm. And it was not the spanking so much. It was the sort of the wrestling hole he had you in.
It sounded like it was what wrestlers today would call a standing grapevine, which is
that's it, Pat.
And when you, that normally starts on the mat, and then when the guy that's having it applied to him comes to his feet, it's stopped because it's called potentially dangerous. And in your case, John, it was potentially dangerous.
It was. Now, I'm going to read this. I found it not too long ago. It's Joey and Rory have it as a YouTube type video. And we need to remind people, to when you correct your children, you should not provoke your children to wrath. The Bible tells us that we shouldn't do that.
And we're not advocating abuse. We're just advocating discipline.
But there are two things that makes a person better, in my opinion. This is what Rory sang. They were both made of leather, both black and frayed and worn, and I was brought up to respect them since the day that I was born. One came here from England, that being the Bible, and it's been handed down for years, and the other one was ordered from a catalog at Sears. One my mama read to me till I was well into my teens, and I thought all the other one was for to hold up my daddy's jeans. Till I told a lie, and I learned it had another purpose too. And out behind the shed, my daddy said, "This'll hurt me more than it will you." 'Cause one had my daddy's name on it, and the other said King James. With love they taught us lessons, but we feared them both the same. And one led us to heaven, and the other one left a whelp. Those were the days when kids were raised with the Bible and the belt. I remember when I was 12, I stole a dime store comic book, and how Mama read where the scripture said, "You take back what you took." When I refused, my daddy grabbed my arm and said, "Come on, I need more." He knew that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and James, he knew that I needed more than just Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Sometimes it made me cry, sometimes it made me fighting mad, and I wished I'd been raised without them like some other children had. But now I'm grown with kids of my own, and I know just how they felt. It seems to me what the world still needs is a Bible and the belt. That's cute.
That is cute.
Remember, don't provoke your children to wrath. But, there's a time and place for lots of things. When kids do things that are kind of cute, but they're wrong, don't laugh at them. That'll just make them want to.
At least not in their sight.
Yeah, go to the bathroom and laugh or something, but don't do it in front of them.
Rural-based discipline is normally pretty effective. My father used to threaten me, at least, and my brothers and sister with a cat thrashing. Now, never could I assume that was one way that his father limited the supply of cats, but I don't want to know how he did that, what a cat thrashing entailed, but I did see two of my brothers receive the cat thrashing, and that was, you said your dad went around your head, he took a long arm and got in the middle of your legs and pulled you up, so now you're upside down, and he applied his big hand to your posterior, and that's what cat thrashing was at our house, and you just had to just witness that one time, and that was enough.
I never got the cat thrashing that you got, but I got
flyback.
And listen, we enjoyed talking about the old days. I'm glad I'm not there now, but I sure love my daddy. He was a good fella.
Same here.
He wanted to make a good man. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Talking history about this and that. It's conversations with John and Pat. With John and Pat. With John and Pat. Oh, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the pink.
I just knock a tree over. This the paint doctor. I got the color wheel. Now, you know what a color wheel is? It is the wheel at the paint works where you pick all your colors to paint your room. It could be a multicolored beard. It could be a underarm fan. You never can tell. One thing we do know is that it's time to paint. You know, you can make your wife very happy if you go to your house and paint some rooms, or you paint the outside of the house, the inside of the house. It makes them feel very good because you work hard for them and they like that. All women like to see their man sweat, you know? They do. Honeydew is what they do. And you get to do it too. So you go to the Paintworks at 1960 North Washington Street and you see David Heikkinen over there, and he's the real paint doctor. He fix you up with color. It's so nice when the color is right. Go to Paintworks today. Martin Senor. See? Martin Senor. Right there. Martin Senor at the Paintworks. Bye, and we see you next time. I'm burning up.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network. Hello, folks. I'm John Gray, and I'm back, and I'm excited. You can tell I'm excited because I just sometimes when I get really excited, I want to talk too much, and that's almost impossible because that's what I do all the time. Talk too much. But until right now, because I have two of my favorite folks up here with me. Don't see them as often as I'd like to. Super extremely talented Mr. Jim Wood and Inge. And thank you so much for coming to see us.
We
appreciate
appreciate
seeing you. And seems like forever.
That's right. Well, we were here often when we were doing the Fiddle Orchestra.
Right.
Tennessee Fiddle Orchestra.
We played some of that last week to get folks ready for this.
John was just telling me, honey, that they were playing some videos of Dad.
Played some videos of Dad.
My dad, who's
and then y'all doing, the two of y'all doing, I forget what it was, but something with the orchestra.
Yeah.
And you were singing, and it was just wonderful.
Well, thank you very much.
You know, y'all have done so much stuff. It amazes me sometimes how talented you are and how driven you are to make your talent and make your craft wonderful.
Well, you know, it's a funny thing. It's not like being driven. It's more like just breathing or something. You know?
Isn't that great?
Just get up every morning and this is what I do.
Breathe music.
Yeah, that's what I do, yeah.
Well, you have a new project coming out, and that's why you're here, is to sort of tell us about that.
That's great. Yeah, the Greg Reish, who's the director of the Center for Popular Music at MTSU. He and John Fabke, who's the head of Springfield Records, which is now under the umbrella of the Center for Popular Music at MTSU, they got a grant years ago to do some recording for a project called the American Vernacular Music Manuscript Project. And so there I have these collections. I focused on 14 that were fiddle tunes. These unpublished books, I guess they got them from estates. I never really found out where the...
I'm going to call time out.
Sure.
Vernacular music, right?
That's right. American
explanation.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of people out there who are going, huh? What? Just like I'm going, huh? What?
So American,
short explanation.
So American vernacular means something that's grassroots and unique to the American experience.
Okay.
You know?
Thank you.
So
y'all get that.
There will be a quiz.
There will be a quiz afterwards.
So obviously, you know, they're primarily are European antecedents to these music,
right.
you know, because people coming over from Scotland, Ireland, England,
Right.
Germany, France, you know, and so these manuscripts dated from 1730 to 1910.
Wow.
And I never really got the scoop. I assume these were collected probably from estates of, you know, where the families had been passed down through families. I'm not sure really. I assume that's the case.
I bet a lot of them were passed down from families that didn't know what the word estate meant.
That probably...
The movie The Songcatcher comes to mind.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So there was a certain degree of musical literacy, though, for fiddle players earlier in our nation's history. And that kind of faded away, and now it's, of course, come back.
It's coming back.
Yeah, but it was not uncommon for fiddle players to be able to read and write music in the 18th century. And then that kind of got lost in the 19th century to a certain extent. But not entirely, though, because some of these manuscripts, you look at them and you can see that they're clearly kind of classical music influences from, you know, Western European violin technique and everything. Some of these.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, what takes a violin player and slaps them into being a fiddler? Or what is? Yeah, I mean, really. I mean, how does that transition happen?
Well, you know, it's a funny thing. One of the things these manuscripts demonstrate is there was a time when we didn't obsess over categories.
Very true.
You know, and so, you know, for instance, these manuscripts would have been from the time of like Thomas Jefferson, who was both a fiddle player and a classical violinist. And so he would have touring famous musicians from Europe come to Monticello, and they would play string quartets, and his favorite composer was I've forgotten, Mozart, you know, one of the famous classical composers. And then he played square dances, he played fiddle tunes. As a matter of fact, I read one time that he and Patrick Henry were at odds politically, but they played square dances together. They were both fiddle players.
Don't you wish our governments could be like that right now?
Yeah, could you imagine Trump and Biden playing a square dance together?
With chainsaws.
So there was a time when fiddle music was influenced by classical music, and classical music was influenced by fiddle music, you know. And if you look at Western classical music, it grew out of the instrumental traditions, grew out of these kind of like traveling musicians who would go from town to town and play for dances.
Make a living.
Exactly, yeah, playing for dances and that kind of thing. And so, as a matter of fact, Beethoven, I used to play shows with a group called the Four Nations Ensemble in New York City. And we had a program where they would play settings of fiddle tunes of folk music by Couperin and Beethoven, and then I would play fiddle music, and we'd juxtapose the kind of state of the art now versus how people were interpreting fiddle music, you know, 200 years ago.
Sure.
So the thing is, you know, Beethoven moved from Germany to Austria, and he was just trying to make a buck. You know, he's like doing transcriptions and arrangements.
You know, people don't realize how our ancestors traveled You know, they traveled a lot. They got on boats and went across the ocean, and they went, just like you say, a minstrel would go maybe down into another state, or no telling how long it'd take for them to get somewhere to their next gig.
Right.
Yeah. They didn't get to go on an airplane or in a bus or something like that. They rode a horse and a wagon.
Yeah, or walked.
To play the next gig. Talk about commitment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people forget also with a lot of these classical composers that they just need to make a living too.
Yeah.
And some of them had patrons or whatnot.
A lot of them were at the mercy of their patrons.
Right. That's one of the things Beethoven did that was so radical, is he said, I'm going to do this myself. And so he created his own niche in the world by being an entrepreneur also. And so
like having his own publishing company,
exactly
and funding it himself.
Exactly right. Writing arrangements of things, and then his compositions and everything. So we have the music, where even mighty Beethoven is doing fiddle music, fiddle tunes and stuff. And so the two, like I said, the lines were not so clearly drawn.
Right.
You know, and like I said, fiddle players earlier in the nation's history, there was this tradition of like tune collections, and so this wonderful project, they digitized all these manuscripts and these beautiful high resolution scans, and so everybody has access to this by going to the Center for Popular Music.
Wow.
And the American Vernacular, it's the American Antiquarian Society teamed up with
Vernacular Antiquarian Society.
American Antiquarian Society and the Center for Popular Music did the American Vernacular Music Manuscript Program.
Have you got
Antiquarium? That will be on the quiz too.
I'll be on the quiz. Okay, so what did you do? How did you decide what you're going to put on this project?
Well, it was like a doctoral thesis or something. I mean, I had 14 books. I read through 1,654 tunes.
Wow.
And some of these, it was like an archaeology dig, John. It's like,
I can imagine.
And I feel like I got to know the people who wrote these things. You see their handwriting, their manuscript style, and their calligraphy, and you just felt like it like broke down the walls of time, and you're able to like enter into like how they saw things and what they were experiencing by digging into these old books. And you know, to be honest, probably 90% of the stuff was incredibly pedestrian. You know, but if you have 1,654 tunes, if 10% of them are good, that's a lot of material.
Good.
Yeah, that's a lot of material. Yeah. And so, you know, a lot of things were very derivative of other things and really didn't have any distinction or whatnot. And so, but that's okay too. That's
what they were.
That's the human experience. You know, it's like the average and the not so average and the exceptional, and it's all there. And so
and you have to take care of the simple people as well. Everybody's not educated, and everybody's not into the highbrow enough. They need to hear something about bacon and eggs. You know, they don't need Chateaubriand. They don't understand that. They need bacon and eggs, and the same thing in their presentation of music to them. Sometimes the simplest, rawest thing is the thing that sticks with most people.
Well,
and you have to go through all this stuff, and y'all have to figure out what you want to represent.
Right, and we have to make it palatable to modern ears.
Sure.
So the project, we didn't try to just make it sound like a reproduction of what would have been the case, 200 years ago or whatnot, in terms of the performance practice. But on the other hand, we don't want to try to, we have to tie that material together.
Right.
So it sounds like it is relevant to how it would have sounded 200 years ago, but it sounds relevant to right now.
Yeah. Wow, what a project.
So we did some interesting things. They would not have used bass back in the day.
Right.
And we did use bass because acoustic bass, because modern ears are very
used to the bass line.
Used to the bass, yeah. And so we added that, and they would not have had a guitar the way we have guitar. So we chose a tenor guitar, which is a little different kind of sound,
Right.
which is a little, I think blended perfectly. And we used cello, which they would have used a lot back in those days. So, cello was a very common accompaniment instrument.
They didn't use much percussion back in those days either, did they?
They did not in Western Europe and in the United States that much. There was a tradition of playing bones sometimes. Of course, the Irish have the balron, their goatskin frame drum.
Right.
You know what's interesting, John? We were, well, not we, I was years ago before I met Inge, I was on a State Department tour in Arequipa, Peru for an International Folk Dance Festival. This was in the 80s. And there was someone, we had a group there with banjo, fiddle, and guitar accompanying our dance group from the United States. There's somebody there from what was then Soviet Georgia. And then all of Latin America, from Mexico all the way down with the exception of Chile. It was the only country not represented there. And we were the only group there that did not have a percussion instrument in our folk ensemble.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody else had some drums and bones and shakers and all kind of stuff. So percussion is a vital part of folk. I don't really understand how that got left out of the American fiddle tradition. I have a suspicion, this is just a theory, that maybe it was kind of superseded by having the banjo, like in the South, which has a kind of percussive quality to it. So maybe that took up some of the space. Also, maybe, as it was the case, our daughter Angela is going to play cajon with us when we perform, which is from Peru.
Right.
And so that's the theory is that those were just boxes, shipping crates, but the white slave owners didn't want the Africans playing their native instruments, and so they made instruments out of the box.
Shipping crates.
Shipping crates. So it's possible that in the South or in the United States or colonial days, whatnot, that they didn't want the Africans playing percussion instruments. I don't know. It's
do away with that primal beat.
And their culture.
Beat, that culture has a primal beat, and a lot of music today is it's gone back to that a lot. Is that primal thing that gets you feeling. You feel that bass,
just on a gut
level.
That
drum together, and the rhythm guitar. I mean, that section is what makes the nest for the song.
Right.
Yeah. And speaking about songs, what we're going to do is going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to move you to the other stage.
Okay.
And we'll continue this. You're going to play some music, and there'll be some more explanation about what's going on.
Excellent.
Okay, how's that work?
That sounds good.
All right. We'll be right back. Don't you go away, because it's getting ready to get real good, folks.
Here at Manchester Funeral Home, we know the importance of living and working in our local community because it's those families who we serve during their time of need honorably. We believe in supporting local business and offer only 100% Batesville caskets, the best in the industry and a driver of our local economy. If you want straightforward and fair pricing while working with the people you know, choose Manchester Funeral Home, serving your community since 1932. And pre-planning and pre-funding can be the best gift you ever leave your loved ones. Call us to pre-arrange. Manchester Funeral Home. Our family, caring for your family since 1932.
If you want to be a parent, it doesn't matter how you play, what you wear, how you dance, or even what direction life takes you. You just need to be there. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care don't need perfection. They just need you.
How long has it been since you raced a cheetah? Are your tornado creating skills getting rusty? Tired of being the only one in your neighborhood who hasn't built a dinosaur? Sounds like it's time to visit the Hands-On Science Center. The Hands-On Science Center is an indoor science playground. In this museum, please touch is the rule. Join us for weekly science demonstrations on space, lasers, lizards, rocks, and a whole lot more. No two visits are ever the same, so visit often to see our ever-changing exhibits and demonstrations. The Hands-On Science Center, 101 Mitchell Boulevard in Tullahoma.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
All right, folks, we're back on the other stage, and Jim, tell us what's getting ready to happen here.
Okay, we're going to play for you guys. There was one of the collections. It was called the Circus Air, and so this was an untitled waltz, which I just called Circus Air Waltz. And you're going to hear this kind of antique, kind of European quality to it, but it's not European. It's at that nexus point where the American experience started to change the way the music sounded and everything. But it sounds definitely older than kind of modern American music and everything. So this is called the Circus Air Waltz. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So that right there, as you can tell, this is Bailey Johnson playing the bass. Bailey was playing arco bass, which would not have been around during that time, but cello would have been. Okay. So you can tell it has, it doesn't sound like what you would hear on the radio today, but it sounds somewhat similar to what you would have heard, 200 years ago or 150 years ago. In a parlor, people entertain themselves. It's one of the things that we didn't talk about in the interview that I think is so interesting is the idea that people entertain themselves playing music, and this music is geared that way, So we'll play you guys another medley. A lot of this music has Scottish roots, Scots, Irish, Scottish, and we'll play you a medley of a couple of tunes, Morpeth Rant and Gilderoy. And we're going to play Morpeth Rant a couple times, and then we're going to play Gilderoy, and it will it'll modulate. I'm going to switch seats with Inge here, and get out of the way of her guitar neck here, and
come on in. Water's fine. There's no wrong here. No. Everything's right.
Okay, no protocols here.
Yeah, no protocol.
But you can hear as we progress through this arrangement here how it sounds more and more like it would to modern ears. When we play this and we get through with Gilderoy, we'll stop and then we'll play a little Red-Haired Boy, which is the American tune that kind of evolved out of these tunes here. All right, so...
Will that be on the test?
every one of these names, yeah.
Well, let me see if I can get untangled here. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's like this arrangement here is like the missing link between the way things would have sounded 200 years ago, the way they sound now. And we'll play a little Red-Haired Boy for you now, which sounds like what you would hear if you went to a country dance like in Flat Creek.
We play this every week.
Every week, little
red-haired boy, yeah.
Are there any little red-haired boys down there when you do it?
Occasionally.
They're usually mean, aren't they, little red-haired boys?
He's kind of redhead. He's nice.
Okay, so this is Red-Haired Boy. 1, 2, 1 and 2. It doesn't sound like this. You can hear the you can hear the roots of that, of what we do now in this right here. So that's what this project really is exploration into like where we're coming from as this culture, you know, because it doesn't represent all our culture. You know, it represents a part of culture, primarily that of the Scottish and Irish experience, you know, as they were immigrants here, and German and French, like I said, to a lesser extent. But one of the tunes in the collection, to show you how this works, it's so cool. We mentioned my dad, Jimmy Wood. He was state champion guitar player,
right.
And a really excellent musician.
He was on the air with us last week.
That's exactly right. So he passed away a few years ago. Yeah. He passed away a few years ago, but when I was 10 years old, and I'd been raised around this music, you know, my whole life. He played in bands and everything in Williamson County, where I'm from. And so when I was 10 years old, I decided I wanted to fiddle. And so he didn't spend much time, it didn't take him much time before I came home from school one day, and he was home from work early, and he had a fiddle there for me. Well, he didn't play fiddle, he played guitar and banjo, but he was able to pick out a melody, figure out where the notes were because he knew music on the fiddle. And the first tune I learned was a tune called Soldier's Joy, and that's on this project.
Really?
And
wow, that's amazing.
And years later, a friend of mine who's from Denmark, a fiddle player, and they have a very strong fiddle tradition in Denmark. He told me that there are references in Norse literature to that particular tune from 800 years ago. They were playing them on hornpipes. You know, we talk about the hornpipe type of tune. They were actually horns that they made these musical instruments out of, you know, cow horns or ox or something, you know. And at any rate, so I learned this tune from my dad, you know, and of course I didn't know which end of the fiddle to blow in, you know. I didn't know what the names of the strings were.
Didn't have a reed for that.
Yeah, exactly. And but I learned this tune from my dad. And so and it goes back hundreds of years, you know, and it has gone around all the world, you know, or most of the world, and it's in this tune collection. And it's such a cool thing that these tunes, like I said, they break down, you know, what time does to make us lose who we are. It's like these tunes reconnect us to that. And so I want to play for you Soldier's Joy, the tune that is in this collection that I learned from my dad when I was a kid. And just no telling how far back it goes, you know.
Okay.
So it's called Soldier's Joy.
Knock it out of the park.
Smoking tobacco accounts for 3 of every 10 fire deaths in the United States.
Tullahoma Fire Department. Need you en route to a structure fire, 202 Main Street. Heavy smoke showing. Neighbors advise child trapped inside.
Lighters, matches, and associated smoking paraphernalia are the leading cause of preschooler fire deaths. We as firefighters know that most structure fires can be prevented.
I've got one! Command, this is primary search. We have a victim. Need EMS to meet us at the front door.
Please help us to give you a fighting chance. This can be prevented. Contact the Tullahoma Fire Department for a free home safety inspection.
What's a Tennessee vacation? It starts off like any road trip, and then, boom, adventure and thrills everywhere you look, which happens to be some of the most beautiful scenery in the country. Music here, history there, and all kinds of green in between. Come relax and unwind, or bring the crowd for some stargazing, or stargazing. Whatever you do, come hungry and expect an awesome soundtrack. It's all right here in Tennessee. We're playing your song. For a free vacation guide, visit tnvacation.com.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
All right, Peggy and I would like to wish y'all a great day. Peggy, isn't this been wonderful?
It's been wonderful, but don't waste time.
Don't waste time with us. Jim and Inge, daughter, and introduce these two over here.
This is Barry Johnstone playing bass, and this is our daughter Angela Wood playing cajon here.
Okay, take us out, Jim.
Okay, great. So we'll play for you guys kind of where all this eventually wound up. We'll play for you a modern tune called Beaumont Rag.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, yes.